Hey everyone, insight number 2. So this is Jeremiah talking a message from the Lord and just saying to these people of Judah, you turned your back on the Lord. So we're in chapter 2, but a lot of his teaching is to this people who knew how much awesomeness the Lord had and said, yeah, no thanks. We're quite happy here. For whatever reason they did that. And there's often a lot of reasons people do that. Not always selfishness or not always that they're evil. Sometimes they just don't feel it, right? So, now we don't try and judge these people. We just try and get them to, feel it and be really good about it. So, chapter 2, verse 13, specifically talks about a cistern. Now, we know a cistern in our day is usually attached to the toilet, but it's a tank of water. Now, in those days, they had big tanks of water underground, and like a little stairway down into it. And it wasn't like a well, which is different, where the water naturally appears through a cleansing process. No, it was literally this big, it wasn't concrete, but whatever they had to store water underground. And he's comparing here that they'd given up living water for the cistern water, because that's something that they could understand. So it's like giving up, think about when we read this, what would that cistern water look like today? If we were going to give up living clean water, because most of us in these countries that we live in have good clean drinking water right out the tap, and if we don't have it in the tap, we can get it from a bottle, or we have a water filter or something. We have good clean water. We're blessed with that, and there's still a lot of countries that don't. Their water is dirty, or there is no water. So what does it look like for us today in our life, this cistern water, as opposed to fresh water? Have a think about that. So let's have a read. So chapter 2, verse 13 says, "For my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken the fountain of living waters and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water." So they've turned away from Christ and they no longer engage. So it's not just that they decided that they didn't want to listen to Christ, it's that they literally went to another source. But the difference is, what's good about cistern water? What would you rather have? Cistern water or nice living water? I mean, I'll take the living water. So why is a fountain of living water better than a broken cistern? Why? Well, a cistern is a vessel for storing water, as I said, often put in underground. So the water is subject to stagnation and pollution, especially as these cisterns break and crack. And you think about, all the bugs that get in there, and if someone's going down the stairs to get water, then they've got their muddy feet in there. Do you want to drink that? Really? I've just been sitting underground for like 6 months, just sitting there doing nothing? It's not good. Water is not meant to do that. The composition of water is not meant to sit still. What happens when it sits still? You get bugs breeding in it, you get all sorts of things, and you get sick if you drink it. All right? So, living water is flowing and cleansing. And you know this if you've ever been to like a mountain spring, or you see a nice river, or you've got a stream by your house, or you have like a well on your property, or you've seen something like that. Living water is constantly flowing and cleansing as it goes. As it flows over all these rocks out of the mountains or wherever it comes from, it is cleansing itself. It's fresh and it's nourishing. It is likened to Christ and what he gives us. So, what might be the spiritual equivalent of a cistern? Maybe you're looking at false idols. Maybe you're looking at things that aren't Christ-like and they're empty or they're stagnated and polluted. Maybe you're looking at things that are polluted for your inspiration instead of going to Christ for your inspiration. Maybe you're looking for peace and comfort, but you're looking in places that are empty rather than places that have that love of Christ in them. So, what does that look like for you? And why is living water a good symbol of Christ and what he provides? Why do you think that is? I think it's like that because what Christ provides is constantly gone over and fresh and clean and nourishing. So that's why I think he's often referred to as living water. I mean, he's often referred to as the bread of life and the light as well. Those are also nourishing things that you need for growing. Like if you're going to grow a plant, what does it need? It needs fresh water, sunlight, and food. And that's what we need. We need fresh water, sunlight, and food. We need air to breathe. We need to take in nourishment, expel waste, and literally the rest is optional. So, what are you taking in spiritually? And is it from somewhere that offers nourishment and fulfillment, or is it something that's just empty? Because you're not going to find what you're looking for if you're going to this empty, broken cistern. And how do you drink of Christ's living water? So there's a lot of ways to do that. Daily is probably best, because you can't just drink 10 litres on a Sunday and then expect it to last for a week. It doesn't really work that way. You need to drink constantly throughout the day, literal water, don't you? You need to drink to stay hydrated and keep your blood pressure good and keep your body working. So to do it spiritually, you need to partake of, bits of that living water, bits of Christ and His goodness and His loving kindness. You need to partake of that a little bit every day, throughout the day. Drink a couple of litres of water a day is generally pretty good. 2 to 3 is a good recommendation. So where do you sit with that? And how do you take that in? There's things like basics like scripture study and prayer, and of course you attend church, and you probably do Come Follow Me, and watch videos like this, brings you spiritual nourishment. There's a lot of things you can do. Even just reading a good book, or sitting in the sunshine and having a meditative thought process around just prayer or what's going on with you, and talk to Christ like He's right there next to you. As I say, go have a date with Jesus. Have that. And that's going to bring that nourishment and that living water into your life. So, yeah. Now, Elder David A. Bednar, he said, spiritual thirst is a need for living water. A constant flow is far superior to sporadic sipping. Exactly. A constant flow of that instead of just sporadic sipping. If you just sip on a Sunday and live the rest of the week without drinking, it's going to be quite desert-like in your life. Whereas if you are sipping on it constantly and bringing that nourishment into your life, it's going to be a way more beautiful looking garden and sustain you way better. So keep that in mind and just think about that. What is living water to you? How do you partake of it? And how does it nourish you? Is that better than a cistern water that's polluted and empty and broken and kind of gross? Yeah, it's a good thing to think about. All right, have a thought on that. I'll see you soon, and we will talk about backsliding. See you there.